More than 300 South Korean nationals detained in a U.S. immigration raid are now back home. They were detained during an ICE raid at a plant under construction in the state of Georgia. It was being built as a joint venture between South Korean giants LG Energy Solution and Hyundai.
Dear friends, today is a story not just about politics, but about money, honor, and the betrayal of trust. More than 475 people were arrested in an immigration raid at the Hyundai-LG EV battery plant in Ellabell, Georgia, with over 300 South Korean citizens detained, handcuffed, and later sent back home. This isn't a small matter. America is on the brink of losing not only billions in investment, but also a crucial ally. And now, President Trump himself is begging Hyundai to come back. September 4th, 2025, ICE, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, carried out the largest single-location raid in history at the Hyundai-LG EV battery plant in Ellabell, Georgia. They arrested 475 people, including about 300 South Korean citizens, with over 300 people being repatriated on a chartered flight arranged by the South Korean government. According to Hyundai, the incident delayed the launch and commissioning of the battery production line at the plant, set to ramp up production next year. The total investment in the plant, excluding EV battery capital so far, is approximately $10.3 billion in the state of Georgia, not including the $3 billion EV battery joint venture with LG. On the side of the South Korean government, President Lee Jae-myung immediately set up an emergency response team. Foreign Minister Cho Hyun declared, "We are deeply concerned," and suggested revising the visa system to safeguard the rights of skilled workers. "We feel a heavy responsibility for the arrest of hundreds of our citizens," Foreign Minister Cho Hyun said in Seoul. Images of workers being shackled by the hands and feet, an image that shocked not only the people of South Korea, but also the world. But beyond the media spotlight, there are long-term damages. Lost expertise. Highly skilled professionals working on legal visas were deported, disrupting workforce training and technical knowledge transfer in the U.S. An EV battery plant requires highly skilled workers to install equipment and control quality. Losing them means not just time, but also costs. Visa barriers and trust issues. South Korean companies must now think twice before sending experts to the U.S. due to the risk of arrest. For example, LG Energy Solution has suspended all business trips to the U.S. after 47 of its employees were arrested in the raid. Direct and indirect economic losses. The delay in starting the EV battery production line led to lost production opportunities and sales, meaning increased interest costs, maintenance costs for unused equipment, and delayed profits. Not only Hyundai, but also its entire supply chain, electrical equipment, logistics, and labor was affected. Moreover, the U.S. is also suffering losses. When foreign investment withdraws or slows, the number of new jobs, corporate taxes, and manufacturing income will be lower than expected. This isn't just about losing the strategic glow, but about losing practical benefits, and in the end, American people will pay the price through higher-priced products, shortages of parts, and lost tax revenues. I could not believe what I saw because I would have known normally before the news. Jose Munoz, when asked about the ICE raid, which Hyundai was not informed about beforehand. A new point that has not been widely analyzed: the highly specialized supply chain risk. EV battery equipment isn't a mass-market product. It requires specialized techniques, unique materials, and high-level manufacturing. When experts are removed, the technology is disrupted, leading to risks and errors, reduced performance, and increased repair and maintenance costs.
Donald Trump helped us get here. A lesson that our partners to the South, the Americans, have learned about the vulnerabilities in the rare earth magnet supply chain. And so we need to move quickly.
The Trump administration has long promoted its America First policy, raising import tariffs, controlling immigration, tightening visa rules, all aimed at protecting American jobs. But the question is, how does protecting a policy end up backfiring? For example, when Hyundai from South Korea invested in Georgia, they promised to produce in the U.S., creating thousands of new jobs, using American manufacturing plants, and tapping into the U.S. supply chain. But the ICE raid and deportation of experts shattered that promise, not just for South Korean workers, but for the entire international market watching. When it comes to tariffs, the equation becomes more complicated. If tariffs are high, imports of parts and battery materials from other countries are restricted, which will raise production costs for EVs domestically. Electric vehicles and hybrid cars, products expected to lower costs and spread to American consumers, will instead see their prices pushed up. Moreover, the ICE actions send the message, "We will enforce strict immigration laws." But if international businesses are left in the dark, if expert visas aren't protected, then investment deals must be questioned. Is the legal risk and humanitarian loss higher than the profits? We are sending a clear and unequivocal message that those who exploit our workforce, undermine our economy, and violate federal laws will be held accountable. Stephen N. Schrank, ICE Special Agent in charge of investigations for Georgia and Alabama. The debate isn't just about law versus profit, but about the rule of law versus fairness, trust, and a stable investment environment. While the U.S. pushes forward with strong tariffs and immigration measures, Canada, under Prime Minister Mark Carney, is taking a different approach, working to diversify the supply of critical minerals, building a value chain from extraction, refining, and recycling, and partnering with international allies like Germany. The agreement between Canada and Germany, signed August 26, 2025, is a joint declaration of intent, non-legally binding but highly strategic, jointly developing refining, processing, and recycling technologies, jointly investing in public-private key projects, and sharing ESG standards and technology development between the two countries to reduce dependence on single sources like China. Canada has immense potential to be a leading and reliable global supplier of critical minerals, and Canada and Germany are natural strategic partners in this mission. The projects between Troilus Gold, Canada, and Aurubis AG, Germany, on long-term copper concentrate supply. Torngat Metals and VX, Germany, on clearly sourced rare earth oxides, and Rocktech Lithium cooperating on lithium refining using clean energy. All part of a bigger strategy, moving away from raw material exports and relying on intermediaries for processing. This brings two clear lessons. Supply and cost stability. When you have a complete value chain, you control costs from start to finish. Materials, labor, transportation, losses. Economic diplomatic power. International cooperation can be a tool for balancing influence, not just threatening with tariffs, but by building internal capacity, long-term trust, and transparent standards. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Trump relies on tariffs that disrupt trade and shake up markets. Canada focuses on partnerships that provide stability and predictability by leveraging critical minerals and strengthening ties with Germany and the wider EU. Carney has shown that Canada isn't just reacting to Washington's pressures, it's charting its own course. This strategy also gives Canada more leverage in its dealings with the United States. Trump may dominate the headlines with new tariff threats, but Canada controls the assets Washington and its allies simply cannot ignore. Copper, lithium, and rare earth magnets are the heart of the next-generation economy, and Canada is turning them into tools of national power. In this trade standoff, Ottawa has done more than just endure pressure. It has completely changed the game. The message is clear. Trump can raise tariffs, but Canada now holds something far more valuable: the trust of its partners and the resources to fuel the future. If you're over 50, like many of you, life has seen its share of political and economic upheaval, but rarely have we witnessed such a total loss of trust. When promises of investment are eroded, people lose hope that international businesses will stay when political weather turns bad. Low-skilled companies, with massive investments in equipment and production lines, end up having to hire foreign experts back. When visas aren't stable, when these people can be detained at any time, the cost isn't just monetary, it's the mental risk, the insecurity for employees and investors. As for the U.S., while Hyundai remains committed to a $2.7 billion investment to expand production in Georgia to reach 500,000 vehicles year by 2028, as AP News reports, this incident will add additional risk insurance costs, the cost of renegotiating labor contracts, and costs related to banning expert visas. Meanwhile, the international reputation damage, South Korea, a long-standing strategic ally, has raised questions about whether America is truly a trustworthy place to invest in or collaborate on high-tech ventures. When honor is shaken, things like investment agreements and trade relations aren't just based on paper contracts, but on the trust of the people. Someone asked, "How much has America lost?" The answer is, not just the money invested, but also the opportunity lost. More affordable EV production, higher tech, cleaner supply chains, the Made in America brand being worth buying and investing in, all of that is now under threat. After the raid sparked a massive backlash in Seoul, Donald Trump took more of a begging approach than ordering. According to Hyundai, CEO Jose Munoz stated that he only learned about the raid through the media, a confession that shocked investors and raised the question, why was a company with such a massive investment not informed beforehand? Meanwhile, the administration tried to calm public opinion by stating that foreign companies were still welcome, as long as they complied with labor laws, immigration laws, and expert visa regulations. But with incidents like the one in Georgia, compliance doesn't seem enough to protect them from policy risks and enforcement risks, especially when the enforcement is criticized as brutal and public. Trump, according to sources, is facing heavy pressure. From the South Korean National Assembly, from domestic U.S. public opinion, as businesses and consumers worry about rising prices and supply disruptions, and from international allies. We will not let our guard down until we have our people safely back home. Kang said after the government negotiated the release of over 300 South Korean citizens, "Gentlemen, politics and laws are what we need, but trust, mutual trust, is far harder to regain than a broken contract." South Korea and Hyundai cannot be an isolated case. When experts are arrested, when contracts are disregarded, when international companies look around and think, investing in another country might end up like this, they will pull back. The result? The U.S. loses the opportunity, and the American people pay the price, with higher-priced products, outdated technology, and fewer jobs. But there is another choice, like Canada is doing. Diversifying the supply of materials, partnering internationally to develop refining technologies, processing, and value-added opportunities, rather than just threatening and punishing. The U.S. could beg Hyundai to return by restoring trust through clear policies, fair expert visas, advance notice of immigration enforcement actions, and protection for foreign investment, rather than letting this incident become a symbol of betrayal.